wedding. But karma hit harder than they expected. Hey everyone, before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. 36 male, never thought I'd be typing this out, but here we are. Sorry in advance for the wall of text, but I need to get this off my chest. And maybe hearing from other people who've been through similar hell will help. Or maybe this will help someone else. Who knows? This nightmare started 3 years ago when I was still married to Sarah. We'd been together since sophomore year of college, nearly 12 years total before everything imploded. I always thought we had something solid. We survived the post-call broke phase, my medical school debt, her career changes, and even a miscarriage that nearly broke us. But apparently, we couldn't survive my own damn brother. To understand this cluster, I need to explain my family dynamic. I'm the oldest with a younger brother, Jake, 33 male. Since we were kids, Jake was the golden child who could do no wrong. My parents, especially my dad, treated him like he was God's gift to humanity. I was the responsible one who worked my ass off for every scrap of recognition, while Jake coasted through life on charm and my parents' checkbook. Example, when I graduated med school and landed a residency at a prestigious hospital after working 80-hour weeks and drowning in $280,000 of student loans, my parents sent a generic congrats text. When Jake finally finished his business degree after 6 years of partying and C averages, they threw him a massive graduation party and bought him a BMW, a brand new BMW. For graduating with a 2.4 GPA, this was the pattern my entire life. When I bought my first house entirely with my own money, my parents came over, criticized the neighborhood, and asked why I didn't get something nicer. 2 months later, they co-signed for Jake's condo in the trendy part of town and paid his down payment. Despite all this, I tried to maintain a relationship with Jake. He's my brother, and I stupidly thought blood meant something. Maybe that's why I was blind to what was happening right under my nose. I remember one Thanksgiving, I just finished a 36-hour shift at the hospital and was exhausted. Jake showed up 2 hours late to dinner with some lame excuse about traffic. Instead of calling him out, my mom kept his food warm and fussed over him when he arrived. Meanwhile, she'd criticized me earlier for looking unprofessional because I hadn't had time to shave that morning after saving 3 lives in the ER. The favoritism was so obvious that even extended family noticed. My cousin Maria once pulled me aside at a family reunion and said, "It's like you're invisible when Jake's in the room." She wasn't wrong. At my grandfather's funeral, my eulogy, I was the only grandchild who'd gone into medicine like him. Was cut short because we're running behind schedule, but they gave Jake 10 minutes to ramble about 2 fishing trips he'd taken with Grandpa. When I met Sarah in college, I felt like I finally had something that was completely mine. She was smart as hell, ambitious, and had this infectious laugh that could light up a room. We clicked immediately. She was getting her degree in marketing, and I was pre-med. We were both driven and understood the late nights of studying. By senior year, we were living together in a crappy apartment off campus, splitting ramen and dreaming about our future. I remember our first apartment had this terrible leak in the bathroom ceiling. We couldn't afford to move, so we created this elaborate system of plastic sheeting and buckets that we had to empty multiple times a day. Instead of complaining, Sarah turned it into a game. Whoever emptied the most buckets in a week got to pick the movie for date night. That's the kind of person she was. Or at least the kind of person I thought she was. My parents weren't thrilled when I brought Sarah home the first time. She came from a working-class family. Her dad was a plumber, her mom a school secretary, and my mom especially made these little comments about her clothes or her accent. Sarah grew up in rural Pennsylvania. Looking back, I think they always expected me to marry someone from our social circle, aka someone with money and connections. Classic elitist, we got married when I was 28 and Sarah was 26 after I'd finished med school and was starting my residency. We had a modest wedding because we were paying for it ourselves. My parents contributed exactly $500, which my mom made sure to mention in her wedding speech. We would have loved to do more, but we're saving for Jake's future. Meanwhile, They'd already told us they were setting aside $75,000 for Jake's future wedding, even though he was single and hooking up with a different girl every weekend. At our wedding reception, my dad gave a toast that spent more time talking about Jake's recent job offer than about Sarah and me. And while we're celebrating Rob finding his match, we're also proud to announce Jake has been accepted at Mile Lynch with a starting bonus that's quite impressive for someone his age. Sarah squeezed my hand under the table, and I remember thinking how lucky I was to have someone who understood what I dealt with. For the first 5 years of our marriage, things were good despite the challenges. I was working crazy hours as a resident and then as a new attending physician in emergency medicine. Sarah had built a solid career in digital marketing, working her way up to management. We finally bought our house, a modest 4-bedroom in a nice neighborhood with good schools. We were talking about trying for a baby again after the heartbreak of our miscarriage 2 years earlier. We had routines that kept us connected despite my chaotic schedule. Sunday mornings were sacred. No matter what, we'd make breakfast together and go for a walk in the park near our house. We had a standing date night every other Wednesday. When I worked night shifts, she'd leave me little notes in my lunch container with jokes or encouragement. I thought we were solid, unbreakable. That's when Jake started showing up a lot. At first, it seemed innocent. Jake's new apartment was coincidentally only 15 minutes from our house, even though it was 40 minutes from his job. He started dropping by unannounced. Always when I was working night shifts at the hospital, he'd bring dinner for Sarah or offer to help with stuff around the house. I actually thanked him for checking in on Sarah when I was working those 24-hour shifts. What an idiot I was. Looking back, there were so many red flags. Sarah started dressing differently, wearing more makeup, even on weekends. She was constantly on her phone and would take calls in the other room. She set up a password on her phone for the first time in our relationship, claiming it was for work security. Our sex life, which had always been great, became almost non-existent. She was tired or had a headache or was stressed about work. I noticed she'd started buying new underwear. Nothing outrageous, but different from her usual style. When I commented on it, she said her friend Lisa had recommended a new brand that was more comfortable. I believed her. She stopped sharing details about her day. Before, she'd tell me about work drama or something funny that happened at lunch. Now, when I asked about her day, she'd just say fine or busy and change the subject. When I asked if everything was okay, she'd get defensive and say I was overthinking things. I chalked it up to both of us being busy and stressed. I was working 60-plus hours a week at the hospital, and she had just taken on bigger responsibilities at her company. Plus, we were actively trying to get pregnant again, which added its own pressure. I never suspected Jake. Never. He was my brother for sake. The way I found out wasn't some dramatic confrontation or catching them in bed. It was stupid, ordinary, and devastating all at once. It was our anniversary, and I had switched shifts with a colleague so I could surprise Sarah. I left work early, bought her favorite flowers, sunflowers, and champagne, and headed home around 2 p.m. when she thought I'd be at the hospital until midnight. When I pulled onto our street, I noticed Jake's Beamer in our driveway. I thought nothing of it at